Bill Gates has just announced a brand new initiative that we have not seen before from his foundation. And in my opinion, this opens up massive neo-colonial concerns regarding Bill Gates' philanthropy and actions on the continent of Africa. The devastating part about all of this is that it is happening with the consent of the leadership of Africa. And I just don't think enough people understand the impact of what Bill Gates and his foundation is doing to very real people, lives, communities, and ultimately the continent as a whole. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly what this new angle of attack is. And I warn you now, if you are for the betterment of the continent, this is likely to absolutely enrage you. For those of you that don't know, my name is TJ. I'm Nigerian and British mixed. And on this channel, we talk about African geopolitics. So to set the scene, Bill Gates has a foundation, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, that has a bunch of goals to help the world. And it seeks to provide a bunch of solutions through philanthropy, investment, development, in order to help Africa improve and solve these really difficult problems. So on the surface, many people are duped by this. They think, wow, this is wonderful. This billionaire really has wonderful plans for the globe. He's caring about Africa. Isn't it wonderful? He's investing his money. But when you dig deeper and you see the outcomes, you start to realize that this is anything but a positive thing for the continent of Africa. So far, we've seen him involved in the agriculture sector through GMO crops, vaccinations of animals, and fertilizers, all of which create problems for the natural ecosystem of Africa and have a controlling element such that anyone that uses these products, these seeds, these fertilizers becomes unnaturally and absolutely reliant on the manufacturers of these products. Then the foundation has been involved in vaccinations. Now, I'm not here to say that all vaccinations are bad. I think there is much need for well-tested vaccines that have got long-term benefits that we have studied and documented over time. When someone from outside of Africa brings new vaccinations to the continent of Africa, along with great wealth, you have to question, is Africa a sort of testing guinea pig space to figure out vaccines on the population of Africa? And you have to question if there are any hidden agendas that are not in the best interests of the health and longevity of the African population. This is the current status quo. But now the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation have stepped into the family planning industry. And I'm going to read you this article to explain this latest development. The world's first 8-year contraceptive to be introduced by Bill Gates Foundation in Kenya. In a significant advertisement for global reproductive health, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has announced the launch of a groundbreaking long-term contraceptive aimed at empowering women through better family planning options. The innovative contraceptive, which can prevent pregnancy for up to 8 years, is being introduced in Kenya, Nigeria, India, with broader distribution plans for other countries in the future. Anita Zaidi, president of the Gates Foundation Gender Equality Division, shared details about the new hormonal intrauterine device, IUD, highlighting its design for affordability, accessibility, and ease of use. The hormone-releasing IUD represents a new era in contraception, providing a reversible and low-maintenance solution for women seeking long-term pregnancy prevention. The IUD works by releasing progesterone, a synthetic hormone that thickens cervical mucus to block sperm and may also prevent ovulation altogether. Once inserted into the uterus, the device remains effective for up to 8 years, making it the longest-lasting hormonal IUD available globally. The article goes on to start talking about empowering women through access and innovation. The initiative underscores the Gates Foundation's broader mission to create a world where every woman has the tools and support to make informed reproductive health choices by introducing affordable, long-term, and self-managed contraceptives. The foundation is helping to remove structural and financial barriers that often limit access to quality healthcare. As Kenya and other countries begin to implement these new family planning options, millions of women stand to benefit from gender reproductive autonomy, contributing to improved health outcomes economic stability, and gender equality across communities. Notice how everything about this IUD is put under the banner of saving, freedom, gender equality, all positive and wonderful sounding things. But the devil is in the detail. Where was this IUD tested? If it can last 8 years, was it tested for 8 years with over 1,000 people to show that there was no side effects? And it concerns me that an American is bringing this to Africa first. Why is he not testing it in his own place? God forbid that this would have any negative long-term effects. While it's being touted as some type of freedom for women, what will it do to females' hormones for 8 years that are having their natural cycles tampered with in this way? Now, if this was just an isolated situation and there was no deeper context, maybe I wouldn't have thought twice about someone trying to do philanthropy in Africa. Africa does need help in many areas, but unfortunately, Bill Gates has a terrible record of what he's been doing in Africa, and people still think he's doing wonderful things.
When German company Bayer bought US seed maker Monsanto for $63 billion in 2018, it inherited billions of dollars worth of lawsuits from farmers who claimed its weed killer Roundup had caused their cancer.
So the companies are merging that are directly known to cause the disease with a medical company that has a treatment for the disease.
The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation made a significant investment in Monsanto. They purchased 500,000 shares of Monsanto stock, which was valued at approximately $23.1 million. The foundation aims to help Africa achieve its own green revolution.
So your grandmother, 86, in the village, cannot plant her cassava. So when we say they are literally criminalizing agriculture, that's what we mean. So like, if you do agriculture the normal way we did it, it's actually a criminal offense.
This effort includes investing in genetically modified crops, such as GMO rice, to improve crop yields and resilience.
It's about patents. So whoever controls the seed owns it. And eventually if that seed gets to us, they also control us.
You could have a case where the initial research is done by a Gates-funded institution. The media reporting on how well that research is conducted is a Gates-funded journalist from a media programme, and then the programme is implemented more widely by a Gates-funded NGO.
Not only does he have the power to roll out his agricultural programs, his vaccine programs, and now his reproductive programs, but he has the power to control the media that puts this stuff out, essentially creating his own positive propaganda so that the people back in the West will accept what he's doing as wonderful, and it will be swallowed and accepted by the African continent. And the troubling part is the length by which he goes to enforce this stuff. We're talking about a system that is linked to banking, the IMF, and the debts of African countries. For example, a country like Kenya, which for the last year plus have been experiencing riots due to the tax hikes justified by the debt packages that they have got themselves into with the IMF and the World Bank, are one of the biggest recipients of these Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Now, the connection between the banks, the debts, and Bill and Melinda Gates is that whenever a country has debt restructuring, which is a big part of why all of these riots were sparked in the first place, Kenya couldn't meet its debt obligations. The IMF and the World Bank negotiate restructuring with companies like Monsanto, Bayer. When those deals are negotiated, they say, okay, part of your restructuring deal is that you now must play ball with Bayer Monsanto. You must sell your products to them. You must use their seeds. You must use their GMO products. You must implement laws. And indeed, we've seen laws in Kenya regarding the compulsory use of some of these agricultural practices. Never mind the historical, cultural, deep and rich history of agriculture that Africa has. No, we're going to do away with that and bring in this dependent system. The GMO seeds that are now becoming mandatory in a place like Kenya only produce once. They are infertile. Whereas the historical seeds, the natural seeds that have made Africa's ecosystem what it is today, they can be used and produce a plant and a fruit. And then those seeds can be used again and again, creating a sustainable cycle that can be used over and over again without the farmer having to buy seeds every single time. Not to mention things like injecting animals with vaccines. And those things that are injected in the animal passes over to the humans. So tell me, why should we trust this IUD reproductive thing? Something that is going to be injected into the daughters of Africa. Something that is going to mess with their hormones for 8 years. Something that I've yet to see any long-term safety studies about. And something that is being rolled out in the African community first. Not in Europe, not in America, where Bill and Melinda Gates are from, but in the continent of Africa. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is somewhat conspiratorial. When you're dealing with reproduction, you're dealing with potentially taking action to control populations, to control the way communities in countries reproduce. You see, Africa is on a demographic boom right now. The population of Africa is going to be 25% of the globe if we continue at these levels by 2050. It is the only continent where populations are still rising. Now, one might say that those in the West that have shown the history of wanting to control the continent of Africa may have an agenda to curb this type of growth. That's just surface level speculation. Of course, I don't know if that's definitely the case, but it's suspect to me, particularly based off what we've seen already from Bill and Melinda Gates.
As Gates revealed to Bill Moyers in 2003, those causes included the population issue, which sparked a lifelong interest in reproductive health.
One issue that really grabbed me as urgent were issues related to population, reproductive health.
But did you come to reproductive issues as an intellectual?
When I was growing up, my parents were always involved in various volunteer things. My dad was head of Planned Parenthood, and it was very controversial to be involved with that.
Gates tips his hand when he equates issues related to population with reproductive health. The topic is particularly controversial because population control and reproductive health have been used for half a century as a euphemism for eugenics, the discredited pseudoscience that holds that certain families are fit to be leaders of society by virtue of their superior genes. As transparent as it seems to us today that this ideology was a self-serving self-justification for the ruling class, it was quickly taken up as the great social crusade of the early 20th century. From Teddy Roosevelt to H.G. Wells to Julian Huxley to Winston Churchill, there was widespread support for the eugenicist notion that society must strive to make sure that the rich and well-born breed as much as possible, and the poor, infirm, and feeble-minded be prevented from having children. Now, the quest to reduce the size of the poor population was spoken of as population control and reproductive health. As Gates Sr. suggests, it is by working with like-minded partners that such great achievements in the field of global health can be made. For the Gates, these like-minded partners include the Rockefellers themselves. Bill Gates Sr. got to discuss global health, agriculture, and environment with the likes of David Rockefeller Sr. and David Rockefeller Jr. at a meeting on Philanthropy in a Global Century at Rockefeller University campus in 2000. And Bill Gates, as we have seen, co-hosted a meeting on reducing the population with David Rockefeller in 2009. But the most salacious hints of a deeper agenda are not to be found in the Gates' public associations, but in the associations that they have tried to hide from the public.
Jeffrey Epstein may be dead, but this story isn't. A shocking new report from the New York Times sheds light on the connection between Microsoft founder Bill Gates and the late Jeffrey Epstein. After Gates' name came up in connection with Epstein and MIT Media Lab, Gates gave a statement to the Wall Street Journal where he insisted he did not have any business relationship or friendship with Epstein. But new reporting from the New York Times outlines numerous meetings between Gates and Epstein and a conversation with Bill and Melinda Gates' foundation, a connection between their foundation and J.P. Morgan to set up a charitable fund that would financially benefit Epstein. You know what I want to know? Why?
Sources say several accusers have come forward in New Mexico, where Epstein owns a sprawling ranch. According to a new report published in the New York Times, Epstein wanted to use the ranch for controlled breeding, using his DNA to improve humanity. The article reports Epstein surrounded himself with leading scientists and would tell them he wanted to have 20 women impregnated at a time on the ranch.
As the New York Times explained, Epstein's plan to impregnate 20 women at a time at his New Mexico ranch in order to seed the human race with his DNA a plan he told to a number of the scientific luminaries he kept in his orbit, put a modern gloss on a very old idea. Mr. Epstein's vision reflected his long-standing fascination with what has become known as transhumanism, the science of improving the human population through technologies like genetic engineering and artificial intelligence. Critics have likened transhumanism to a modern-day version of eugenics, the discredited field of improving the human race through controlled breeding.
Now, you might say, hey, we do have issues with family planning on the continent of Africa, and I would agree with you. But the answer is not injecting hormonal stuff in women's bodies. In my opinion, the answer is building the educational base, the knowledge base of the people. In my opinion, it's creating a better environment in general for the population to educate itself, rise economically, and have self-actualization. That is the answer to many of Africans' problems. It's not a quick fix, it's not going to happen overnight, but it is a sustainable, safe, and healthy method by which we are going to improve the continent of Africa. Africa has to stop its dependency on the West, because when they control you and they create this dependency, they can implement all sorts of things that may or may not be for the best interest of the people. It is a playbook we've seen time and time again, and it's about time this all stopped. We have to make sure that the leadership in Africa does not just bend over to the desires of people that are willing to throw money their way. You know, not all money is good money. Not all quick solutions are good long-term solutions. There are secondary and tertiary effects. And the way that we are now playing God, trying to switch off the natural processes of a female's reproductive system for almost a decade, is just not something that I am ready to trust yet. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Is this something you're ready to trust? Your opinions are really valuable to me, and I really appreciate all of the support that people give me in the comments section. If you have nothing to write in there, would it be too much for me to ask you to write "say no to Bill" in the comments section? It just lets me know that you watched the video to the end, you support the message, you like the channel, and you want me to continue. Thank you so much for watching this video today, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.